They don't wait. Winners don't sit around hoping that some magical spark of motivation will show up to pull them out of bed, push them through the hard days, or light a fire in their soul. They understand that if they want results, they have to create the structure that delivers them. They don't leave success to chance, they engineer it. They build habits that don't rely on how they feel. They don't ask, do I feel like doing this today? They just do it because they know that discipline wins over feelings every single time. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. But habits, those are permanent. They are your internal program, the invisible script that drives your life forward when no one is watching, when the cheers fade, and when the spotlight is gone. Winners take the power back from emotion and give it to commitment. They know that if they can build the right systems, the right routines, and the right habits, they won't have to rely on momentary inspiration. They'll have built a machine that doesn't stop. They don't scroll through videos trying to feel inspired. They lace up their shoes, they open the book, they make the call, they show up. Over and over again, it's boring sometimes, it's repetitive. But it works. It works because greatness isn't found in a one-time burst of energy. It's found in the daily grind. It's found in waking up every day and saying, this is who I am, this is what I do no matter what. Winners embrace the mundane, they master the basics. They know success is not about doing extraordinary things once in a while, it's about doing the ordinary things with relentless consistency. They build habits that keep them aligned with their vision even when life gets chaotic, even when they're tired, even when things aren't going their way, because their actions aren't based on mood, they're based on mission. They don't hope for change, they create it, one small action at a time, one decision at a time. They understand the compound power of discipline and they use it like a weapon. They stack wins. They stay focused. They do the hard things when it's hard to do them. And because of that, they separate themselves from the crowd. This is the truth. Motivation might get you started, but habits keep you going. And if you want to be great, truly great, you need to design your life so your actions aren't a choice, they're automatic. You don't have to think about showing up. You just do. You don't wait for perfect timing, you move now. That's what building habits does. It turns goals into routines, dreams into reality. You want to change your life. Start with one habit, then stack another and another. Soon you'll be unstoppable. Not because you're the most motivated person in the room, but because you've become the most disciplined. You've mastered yourself. That's the edge. That's the mindset of a winner. And that's how you turn potential into power. Motivation feels great in the moment. It's that fiery burst of energy when you're inspired, that electric jolt that makes you believe you can conquer anything. But motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like a spark in the dark. You can't build an empire, transform your life, or achieve greatness on something that's inconsistent. The truth is simple and undeniable. Habits outperform motivation every single time. When the excitement fades and the adrenaline wears off, what's left? Most people retreat. They wait for the next wave of inspiration to come along, hoping for another boost. But high performers, the ones who dominate their goals and leave lasting legacies, they don't depend on motivation. They anchor their lives in habits, daily, intentional, relentless habits that show up even when they don't feel like it, because that's the difference maker. You see, habits are the system behind every transformation. They're the silent builders of momentum. Motivation might get you to the starting line, but habits carry you across the finish line. When things get tough, and they always do, it's your habits that decide whether you push through or fall back, whether you show up or shrink, whether you rise or retreat. Success doesn't come from the days you feel your best. It's earned on the days when it's hard, when the excuses are loud, when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when no one's watching. That's where habits step in. That's where consistency takes over. The reason most people don't win isn't because they're not talented, smart, or capable. It's because they haven't built the habits that carry them through resistance. You can read every book, listen to every speech, and watch all the motivational videos in the world, but if your life isn't structured around strong habits, you'll keep starting over again and again. That's the exhausting cycle. Motivation gets you excited, but when life hits, excitement fades. And without habits to hold you, you fall back into the old patterns that got you stuck in the first place. But here's the power of habits. Once they're locked in, they don't ask how you feel. They don't check if you're inspired. They just run. You've programmed your mind and body to do the work regardless of emotion. That's freedom. That's discipline. That's what it takes to build something extraordinary. Because the world doesn't reward what you start, it rewards what you finish. And you don't finish with bursts of motivation. You finish with systems, with consistency, with grit powered by habit. Winners understand this. They don't leave their progress to chance. They build rituals around their vision. They create structure so strong that even on their worst days, they're still moving forward. And the beauty of habits is that they compound. A little progress every day becomes a lot. A 1% shift daily doesn't feel like much in the moment, but stack that over weeks, months, and years, and suddenly you've created a life that once felt impossible. There's no secret to greatness. There's no magical feeling that suddenly makes everything easy. There's only the decision to commit, followed by the discipline to follow through. You want to master your craft? Build the habit of daily practice. You want a stronger body? Build the habit of training. You want peace of mind? Build the habit of mindfulness. The results will follow, not overnight, but always, because habits don't lie. You must stop negotiating with your goals. Stop waking up and asking yourself if you're in the mood. Show up no matter what. Build that identity. Habits do something motivation never can. They shape who you become, and that's the point. You're not just trying to do different things. You're becoming a different person. A person who doesn't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. A person who decides to show up regardless of circumstances. Motivation makes you feel good. Habits make you unstoppable. One is emotional, the other is foundational, so if you're tired of stopping and starting, if you're sick of chasing motivation only to lose it days later, then draw a line. Say enough. Build the structure. Build the habits. Build the routine that makes quitting harder than continuing. That's how you win. Every breakthrough is built on a mountain of habits. Every transformation is driven by daily decisions done repeatedly. When you make habits your baseline, you eliminate the need for hype. You don't need fireworks when you have focus. You don't need energy when you have structure. You don't need permission when you've already decided who you're becoming. This is where the tide turns. This is where real change begins, not with a motivational quote, but with a repeated choice. You want to change your life. Start with what you do daily. Build habits so solid that even when you're at your worst, you still move forward. That's power. That's how winners win. That's how legacies are built, on the back of habits that refuse to quit. Emotions are powerful. They can fuel us, break us, inspire us, and distract us. But emotions are also unpredictable. One day you're riding high, fired up to take on the world. The next, you're questioning everything. That's the nature of emotion. It shifts. It changes with circumstances, with weather, with a comment, a doubt, a delay. But discipline doesn't flinch. Discipline doesn't wait for the perfect mood. Discipline shows up no matter how you feel. Too many people are ruled by their emotions. They chase dreams when they feel inspired. They make promises in the highs, then break them in the lows. They start something big when the excitement is there, but the moment pressure builds or comfort whispers or fear creeps in, they fold. Why? Because they depended on a feeling instead of developing discipline. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is a decision. Discipline is a commitment. It's the anchor that keeps you grounded when the storm of emotion tries to knock you off course. Your emotions might get you moving, but only discipline keeps you going. Emotion is the spark, discipline is the engine. You don't get results by doing things when it's convenient. You get results by doing them when it's hard, when your body is tired, when your mind is screaming for comfort, when no one's watching. That's when champions are made. Not when it's easy, but when it's necessary. Discipline doesn't ask for your opinion. It doesn't wait for agreement. It simply acts. It becomes your personal standard, your way of life. It's what separates the talkers from the doers, because talkers ride the waves of emotion, but doers build boats of discipline. One stays reactive, the other takes control. And in life, the one in control wins. You can't lead yourself to greatness if you're always reacting to how you feel. One moment you're in, the next moment you're out. That inconsistency is a killer of progress. But discipline creates momentum. It builds trust within yourself. When you act in discipline, you're telling your future self, I've got you. I won't quit on you. That trust is power. It breeds confidence, clarity, and control. Ask yourself, do you act when it's time to act, or only when it feels good? Do you train when it's on the schedule, or only when you're energized? Do you push forward when it's hard, or do you look for the emotional escape hatch? The answers reveal your discipline, not your potential, because potential is useless without execution. And execution belongs to the disciplined. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to. It's the bridge between your goals and your results, between your dreams and your reality, between who you are now and who you're becoming. And that bridge isn't built on feeling, it's built on choice. Daily, repeated, intentional choices. The kind of choices that don't always feel good in the moment, but create a life you're proud of. If you're waiting for the perfect emotional state to act, you're going to be waiting a long time. There are going to be days when you don't feel like showing up. Show up anyway. There are going to be mornings when everything inside you wants to hit snooze. Rise anyway. There are going to be seasons when motivation is gone and fatigue is real. Push anyway. That's discipline, and that's what wins. Discipline is freedom. It's the freedom from chaos, from regret, from inconsistency. It's the freedom to trust yourself, to wake up knowing no matter how you feel, you will follow through. And over time, that creates a force that emotion could never replicate, a force called momentum. That's when you stop chasing progress and start creating it. That's when your results go from occasional to inevitable. So stop chasing emotion like it's your fuel. Build the habit of discipline. Make it your compass. Make it your guide. Because when you master discipline, you become unstoppable. You become someone who doesn't need to feel readied because you're already committed. You become someone who doesn't need hype because your habits are louder than your emotions. You become the kind of person who doesn't wish, hope, or wait. They execute. Discipline is the mindset that says, I don't care how I feel. I care about who I'm becoming. That's the voice that takes over when the excuses start talking. That's the voice that wins battles in the gym, in the office, in your personal growth, and in your mission. That's the voice of a warrior, not a worrier. And that voice only grows when you feed it with action, consistent, committed, disciplined action. Emotions will lie to you. They'll tell you it's okay to quit. They'll convince you it's fine to settle. They'll rationalize why you shouldn't push today. But discipline will always remind you of what you really want. Discipline is truth. Discipline is legacy. Discipline is what builds the unshakable life you're chasing. So make the shift. Stop worshiping emotion. Start mastering discipline. Because once you do, you'll stop relying on willpower and start relying on identity. You'll stop reacting and start executing. And in that space, your goals go from maybe to must, from someday to done, from dream to domination. That's what happens when discipline becomes your default. Consistency isn't sexy. It's not dramatic. It doesn't make headlines, but it's the secret behind every success story. It's what separates the people who wish from the people who win. The truth is, success isn't built in explosive moments. It's forged in repetition. Day in and day out. When you show up, when you stay committed, and when you deliver no matter what's happening around you, that's when the magic happens. That's where momentum is born. Momentum isn't a gift. It's not given to the lucky or the talented. It's earned through relentless consistency. It's built when you do the work when nobody's clapping. When you push yourself, even when your mind is screaming to quit. Each day you show up, even in the smallest ways, you move forward. Each small win compounds. And those small wins, they build unstoppable force. You don't need giant leaps. You need small, focused steps, repeated with purpose. Think about it. One focused action seems like nothing, but stack it day after day, and now you're moving. You're no longer trying to get motivated every morning. You're running on discipline. That's momentum. And once it kicks in, everything becomes easier, not because the work is less, but because you've become more capable, more focused, more driven. When you're consistent, you train your mind and your body to move forward automatically. You eliminate hesitation. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop starting over. You become a force because consistency rewires who you are. It shifts your identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who executes every single day. There are people who work in bursts, big energy, short lifespan. They come in hot, but they burn out fast. And there are those who work with rhythm, steady, strategic, unstoppable. They're not depending on a mood. They've created a pattern. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They build regardless. That pattern, that rhythm, that's momentum in motion. And once it starts, it's almost impossible to stop. Momentum gives you speed. It gives you clarity. You stop doubting yourself because you've built evidence. You've shown yourself that you can keep going, that you follow through, that you finish what you start. That's the fuel that keeps the fire burning long after everyone else has quit. That's how you outlast people who may be smarter, more talented, or more resourced than you. But here's the thing. You can't buy momentum. You can't borrow it. You build it with grit, with sweat, with follow through. And if you stop showing up, you kill it. One missed day turns into a week becomes a month. And suddenly, all that force you were building gone. That's why consistency is sacred. You protect it like your future depends on it, because it does. Think of momentum like a snowball. At first, it's slow, heavy, takes effort just to move it. But with each push, it grows. Each repetition adds weight, speed, power. Eventually it rolls on its own, but it only got there because you stayed with it when it felt pointless. That's the test. That's the growth zone. When it's boring, when it's tough, when progress feels invisible, if you keep going, then you win, because that's where most people give up. Consistency doesn't just change your habits, it transforms your identity. Every action tells your brain, this is who I am now. And over time, your beliefs shift, your confidence rises. You stop questioning whether you can, you already know. You've proven it, you've lived it, and that belief, that's unshakable. That's what allows you to step into any challenge with certainty. Momentum doesn't make the work disappear. It just makes it lighter, turns effort into flow, because you've created a groove, a rhythm of results. You're not wondering what to do next. You just do it. You don't need to get fired up. You've trained yourself to act. And over time, that rhythm makes you faster, sharper, more efficient. That's when you become dangerous, not because of what you do in one day, but because of what you do every day. If you're stuck, if you're stagnant, if you're wondering why things aren't moving, look at your consistency. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters over and over with intention. Start small, but start now. Plant the seed, water it every single day, even if it feels slow, even if no one notices, because eventually roots grow deep, growth becomes visible, and momentum takes over. When you've built momentum through consistency, success stops feeling like a question. It becomes a matter of time. You know where you're going and you're moving with purpose. No shortcuts, no skipping steps, just forward, always forward. So choose consistency over comfort. Choose repetition over randomness, because that consistency, it creates a current that moves you faster, stronger, and further than you ever thought possible. That's momentum. And once you've built it, nothing can stop you. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants results, but very few are willing to do what actually creates it, because success doesn't live in the spotlight. It doesn't scream excitement. It's hidden in repetition. It's buried in the boring. It's wrapped in the routines that no one claps for. You want to build something great, then you've got to master the mundane. The truth is, greatness is forged behind the scenes. It's the early mornings when no one's watching. It's doing the work when it's the last thing you feel like doing. It's showing up over and over again to the same process, the same grind, without needing a reward. Because the reward isn't just the result, it's who you become in the process. That's where power is built. Not in the moments of glory, but in the moments of discipline. That's where success grows quietly, silently, consistently. You don't rise by doing what's exciting. You rise by mastering what's essential. Day in, day out, you make your bed. You write the plan. You follow the schedule. You hit the reps. You train your mind and your body to execute no matter how you feel. And yes, it's boring. It's repetitive. But that's the exact reason most people fail, because they're addicted to excitement, not committed to excellence. Those who crave novelty will always chase, but never catch, because true progress doesn't come from chasing stimulation. It comes from doing what works again and again and again. Boredom becomes the test. Can you stay consistent when the adrenaline fades? Can you execute when it's no longer fresh, when it's no longer fun? That's where most people tap out. But if you push through that wall, you find what others never see: transformation. Because the boring stuff is the building stuff. Everyone wants the big win. But the big win is built on thousands of small, dull actions. Success is a compound effect, stacking one small right choice on top of another. You don't see the results at first. That's why it's so hard. You plant the seeds, water them daily, and still nothing. But if you keep showing up, keep tending the process, something magical happens. Breakthrough, growth. That's when the boring becomes beautiful. You must learn to fall in love with consistency, fall in love with mastery. That means doing the reps when it's raining, when you're tired, when it's inconvenient. That means staying loyal to your process even when your emotions beg for something new. Because emotions are fleeting, but results are earned. The ones who win are the ones who turn boredom into discipline, the ones who train their minds to embrace structure instead of resisting it. There is no shortcut, no hack, no viral solution, just focused repetition. Over time, that repetition becomes rhythm, and rhythm becomes power, and that power, it becomes unstoppable. You become someone who finishes, someone who doesn't just start strong, but stays strong. Not because it's easy, but because you've trained for it. You've done the boring work so many times, excellence becomes your default setting. You want freedom, master structure. You want results. Respect the process. Show up to the gym. Show up to the journal. Show up to the strategy, even when it's dull, especially when it's dull, because when you do, you're doing something 95% of people will never do. You're building unshakable momentum. The boring work teaches you patience. It teaches you humility. It humbles you because there's no applause, no dopamine hit, no quick fix. But it's that humility that sharpens you, that repetition, that refines you. That silence that shapes you into someone who doesn't need motivation because you've built something better identity. So many chase motivation. They look for inspiration in every corner of the internet, but those who dominate don't chase motivation. They build habits. Habits grounded in the boring, unglamorous tasks that no one wants to do. And that's why they win, not because they're better, but because they keep going when it's hard, when it's dull, when everyone else gets distracted. Success isn't found in your highlight reel. It's found in your habits, in your boring, quiet daily grind. You want to rise, respect the boring, embrace the process. Trust the grind. That's where your future lives. That's where the fire is lit, not in the flash, but in the fuel you stack daily. So if today feels boring, good, that means you're right where you need to be. Doing the real work, building the real you, brick by brick, step by step, quietly creating something the world will one day notice. But for now, keep showing up, keep grinding, because success doesn't scream, it whispers to the disciplined. And if you can train yourself to listen in the silence, to find power in the monotony, to stay true in the repetition, then nothing can stop you. Because that's where the winners are made, in the boring, in the basics, in the stuff no one sees, but everyone remembers when you finally break through. Goals are important. They give us direction, clarity, and purpose. But goals by themselves don't change your life. They don't create transformation. What truly reshapes who you are and what you become are the habits you live by every single day. Habits are where the real change happens, because when you repeat a behavior long enough, it becomes automatic. And when it becomes automatic, it becomes part of who you are. That's how goals become identity. You can set all the goals in the world. You can write them on your wall, scream them out loud, visualize them every morning. But if your daily actions don't align with those goals, they're just wishes. Habits are the bridge. They're the process that turns intention into reality. You don't become disciplined by setting a goal to be disciplined. You become disciplined by showing up every day, doing the work, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. That's how the behavior embeds itself into your system. That's how it becomes who you are. Identity isn't something you find, it's something you forge. You want to become a strong, confident, relentless person. Then you build the habits that a strong, confident, relentless person would have. You don't wait until you feel like it. You act like it, because behavior shapes belief. And when you act like the person you want to be over and over again, eventually your mind catches up. You stop trying to become something and you start being it. This is the power of repetition. This is the power of intentional routine. Every time you follow through on a powerful habit, you cast a vote for the kind of person you are. At first, they're small. They feel insignificant. But over time, they build mass. They build momentum. And one day you look in the mirror and you don't see the person who was trying anymore. You see the person who became. That's the true magic of habits. They aren't just about productivity. They're not just about achievement. They're about transformation. Habits don't just help you reach the goal. They make the goal irrelevant because you've become someone who doesn't need the external motivation anymore. You do it because it's who you are now. You do it because your identity demands it. When your habits align with your vision, that's when power is unleashed. But that power doesn't come instantly. It comes from showing up every day. It comes from doing the reps, from putting in the time, from executing on the small, seemingly ordinary actions that most people ignore. But you don't ignore them. You embrace them because you understand that the extraordinary is always hidden inside the ordinary. You can't rise above your standards. And your standards are revealed by your habits. You don't accidentally become successful. You don't stumble into confidence or excellence. You build it, you live it, and you repeat it so many times that it becomes non-negotiable. That's how identity is built, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Not from what you say you'll do, but from what you actually do. This is why consistency matters, not because it's sexy, not because it's fun, but because it creates identity. And when your identity is built on high performance habits, you become unshakable. You don't need to get motivated. You operate out of alignment. You don't hope things will work. You make them work because that's who you are. The real shift happens when you stop chasing goals and start upgrading the system that gets you there. That system is your habits. That system is your daily actions. Because the truth is, we always fall to the level of our systems. And if your system is weak, your identity will be weak. But if your system is powerful, built on discipline, focus, and resilience, then your identity becomes bulletproof. So don't just set goals, build the habits that reflect them. Wake up like the person who already has the result. Train like the person who's already achieved it. Think, speak, and act like the version of yourself that no longer questions the outcome, because the outcome is inevitable when the identity is strong. The question isn't, will I reach the goal? The question is, can I build the habits of the person who lives at that level? If the answer is yes, then the goal becomes a byproduct. You don't just hit targets, you become someone who lives above them. That's the power of habits. That's the power of identity. And once those two align, nothing can stop you, not doubt, not failure, not fear. Because the strongest force in your life will always be the story you believe about yourself. And that story is written by your actions, not your intentions. Your life will always reflect your habits. So choose them wisely, repeat them relentlessly, and watch your identity rise to match the destiny you were built to claim. Success doesn't happen by chance. It doesn't fall from the sky or come as a result of one lucky break. It's forged through relentless repetition, through a routine so committed, so consistent, that it separates the people who say they want it from the ones who are actually building it. Routine isn't about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's necessary over and over again, even when no one is watching, even when it's not exciting, even when the results don't show up right away. That's the difference between average and unstoppable. Winners don't dabble. They don't show up when they feel like it. They don't take breaks when things get uncomfortable. Winners lock into their routine like it's oxygen, because they understand something the rest of the world refuses to admit. Progress isn't found in intensity, it's found in consistency, in the grind, in the mundane, in the daily habits that build brick by brick what others will one day call overnight success. While others search for hacks and shortcuts, winners stick to the fundamentals. They train when others sleep. They plan while others party. They review their goals when others are distracted. It's not glamorous, it's not flashy, it's not always fun, but it works. And that's what matters. Because relentless routine isn't about comfort, it's about control. It's about creating a rhythm of progress so strong that distractions can't break it, doubt can't weaken it, and fear can't slow it down. When you commit to a relentless routine, you begin to operate differently. Your focus sharpens, your energy aligns, your clarity deepens. You don't wake up wondering what you need to do. And because you act repeatedly, without needing permission, without needing motivation, without needing applause. The people who win at the highest levels don't do more things. They do the right things more consistently. They design their days with purpose. They train their minds to operate under structure. And most importantly, they make their routine non-negotiable. It's not, if I feel like it, it's, this is what I do. They don't leave their success up to emotion. They anchor it in execution. And here's what most people never understand. The real test isn't talent, intelligence, or luck. The real test is repetition. Can you stay committed when the excitement fades? Can you show up every day when progress is slow? Can you follow through with excellence when no one is cheering? That's what builds a winner. That's what defines greatness. It's not the loud moments, it's the silent ones. The early mornings, the late nights, the lonely hours of mastery that stack up to create undeniable results. Every successful person you see is standing on a mountain of effort that most never saw. It's not the highlight reel that made them. It's the routine. It's the commitment to do the work regardless of feelings, regardless of circumstances, regardless of how tired or discouraged or overwhelmed they felt. Because routine isn't dependent on mood, it's built on mission. You must decide what your mission is, then create a daily routine that brings that mission to life. Don't complicate it. Don't overthink it. Just build it and keep showing up for it. Make it so ingrained in your life that breaking it feels unnatural. That skipping it feels like betrayal. That delaying it feels like sabotage. That's how you win. That's how you build momentum that never stops. That's how you create unstoppable consistency. And eventually something shifts. The effort you once had to force becomes automatic. The resistance you once felt turns into rhythm. The grind becomes your groove. And what once felt like work becomes part of your identity. That's the gift of relentless routine. It doesn't just build results, it builds you. It strengthens your mind, it sharpens your focus, it trains your spirit to dominate regardless of the external world. In the end, there are no secrets, no shortcuts, no miracle solutions. There is only the decision to commit and the discipline to stay committed. You want to separate yourself from the rest. Build a routine they can't keep up with. Show up more consistently than anyone else. Execute with precision, passion, and purpose day in and day out. Let others make excuses while you build execution. Let others chase motivation while you master discipline. Because the truth is simple, relentless routine separates the winners, and when you lock into yours, nothing and no one can stop you.